Nothing could be closer to the truth than to accuse the CIA of premeditating murders on a massive scale all around the world. With the evidence of its presence at several of recent history's most notorious massacres, why then has nothing been done about it? The point of this documentary is to gather evidence from various video sources and present them to you in a case-by-case format. In the case of RFK, it is obvious that the CIA were involved. The fact of the matter is, it could not have been every CIA member involved, but rather just like the assassination of JFK in 1963, there was a team involved, following a carefully strategized plan. We now know that Sirhan was indeed the patsy. However, in this case, he did indeed fire shots, something he would never have done unless he was under the influence of rather strong drugs, or he was in fact the very first Manchurian candidate, manipulated by the CIA's experimental mind control programs. The CIA's involvement in the assassination of Robert Kennedy was so thought out and well planned, they had agents planted in nearly all positions of the trial and investigation to ensure the public would not find out the truth, that it was an inside job and it would threaten national security.
We cannot and must not take on as our mission the suppression of disorder and internal violence everywhere it appears, anywhere in the world. I don't believe that is the mission of the United States.
I've never seen a more ravaged man in my life. He didn't know who was responsible for the murder of his brother. Was it the CIA? Was it Cuban nationals? Was it part of the Cuban brigade?
Operation Chaos saw the CIA spying on anti-war protesters and the Black Panthers with the help of the LAPD's intelligence division.
The LAPD does have a history of ties with the CIA, and we know that in the persons of two people who played a critical role in the investigation, Manuel Peña and Sergeant Enrique or Hank Hernandez.
Hernandez told Sandra Serrano a little about his background during her polygraph test.
I have been called to South America, to Vietnam, Europe, and I have administered tests. The last test that I administered was to the dictator in Caracas, Venezuela. He was a big man, a dictator. Hernandez was the last name. And this is when there was a transition in the government of Venezuela, and that's when President Betancourt came in, but this is all behind. But there was a great thing involved over there, and I tested this gentleman.
So what is an LAPD polygraph officer doing in South America working for the U.S. government? I mean, that's an indication of a CIA connection.
With Hernandez working in part with the CIA during the investigation and appointed to be one of the lead officers investigating the murder of Senator Kennedy, it's interesting to point out the fact that he was also involved in politics and capitalism so much that he was the one who successfully pitched the idea of training regular public security guards to supplement U.S. Marines when it came to protecting U.S. embassies and politicians all around the world. In other words, this guy is the pioneering founding father of privatized militarization. This is done by saving trained Marines from dying in hostile situations in the field and replacing them with less skilled regular people from the public so that it saves the military complex that much more money and taxpayer dollars. Hernandez was also the founder of Pasadena-based Intercon Security Systems Incorporated. Intercon's first client was NASA, and its task was to provide a comprehensive security program which used various methods of disciplines in a top-secret, classified environment. Hernandez must have been a pro at keeping things secret and lying to withhold the truth.
I was an active duty Army officer, a regular Army captain in 1963 with a specialty in covert and paramilitary intelligence operations. Suddenly was beckoned to Washington, D.C. and offered an opportunity to serve with the CIA in its secret war against Cuba. I transferred to South Florida to JM Wave, which is the only CIA station that was ever established on U.S. soil. I met the assistant chief of station, a fellow by the name of Gordon Campbell, who later became my case officer on a particular mission shortly before the Kennedy assassination. I also worked with a fellow by the name of David Morales, who was the chief of operations. The concept was to conduct covert paramilitary operations involving infiltration and commando raids in an effort to destabilize Cuba. We also embarked on efforts to assassinate Fidel Castro. Bobby Kennedy, chairing the special group, had to pass on each and every mission. It created a huge amount of resentment on the part of the operational people at JM Wave. Particularly, I know for a fact, Morales, because I had sat in on briefings or heard him go into a rage in his office where he would throw chairs and go absolutely berserk when the word came down that that operation had to be changed or possibly even canceled because the risk of attribution and unintended consequences was too great.
David Morales was an important asset and key figure to the CIA. He was involved with many coups and the overthrowing of several governments from overseas during top-secret CIA operations. Morales was a high-ranking employee, preceding the director himself, and was active in several key operations, including the Bay of Pigs invasion, which he held the Kennedys personally responsible. After reviewing videos from the Ambassador Hotel, independent researcher and filmmaker Shane O'Sullivan discovered that Morales was present the night of Senator Kennedy's murder. After locating him in several shots, it would seem that Morales was in charge of conducting the operation to ensure all the conspirators were in the right places and playing their roles appropriately. For a noticeably long time after most of the people were cleared from the area, Morales seemed to stick around and eavesdrop on all the testimonies given by witnesses, probably to monitor what information was released to the public.
The secrets of both Kennedy assassinations may lie buried in a desert cemetery in Arizona.
They called him a man of 1,000 faces. That's what he was called. He hated all communists, you know. He what you call 100% American all the way through. You don't mess with him and he'll blow your ass apart.
Morales was a legendary backstreet operator for the CIA. If you saw him on the streets of a South American capital, you knew a coup was about to happen.
That's when the terrorists took over for 3.5 years. They went from door to door. Bibi aquí, Juan Perez, you know, as soon as they opened the door, you had to kill children, old man, anybody that's there got killed, right down the line. All these holy people that think that by talking to people you're going to get it done, you got to kill them.
If what Rubin is saying is true, which I'm certain it is, then by talking about these issues, we'll solve nothing. If violence is the only way, then I'm certainly surprised given that the general public vastly and astoundingly outnumbers the people that are causing all these problems, that a revolt has yet to take place. Perhaps Rubin is right, and the only way to solve these issues is to gather in mass numbers and march together so that real justice and order can be established and restored once again. I would hope this is not the case, for the sake of all of humanity.
People that think that by talking to people you're going to get it done, you got to kill them. From there they had to go to Chile, overthrow Allende. Well, you know about the money that was there, wasn't it?
Yeah, can you tell the story about that?
Well, I know the fact there was $10 million there that disappeared.
He flew down to Chile with some advance information that there was U.S. dollars in the treasury down there, and he indicated to me that there was somewhere around $10 million involved, and that his participation in it was only $2 million. And then it was within 2 or 3 months of that, David asked me to buy as much land as I could buy without anybody starting to talk about it, just be very quiet about it. He was striding around the room and he was out of control, and I don't ever recall seeing him lose it like that before.
And what was his actual comment then that finished that?
It was something like, I was in Dallas when we got that motherfucker, and I was in Los Angeles when we got the little bastard. What it said to me was that he was in some way implicated with the death of John Kennedy. And let's go one step further, and also Bobby.
They were sort of getting in. I wanted some information about what happened down there, at Dallas. And as we're drinking, and then finally did he something. Well, he let him know in a roundabout way, well, we got the son of a bitch. That's what he said. It don't take much. You don't have to be a brain to figure out what he meant, right? Well, you know not what he meant. And because he caused all those deaths, he caused them, and why did he go back on his word? You know, pulled those damn airplanes that they were ready to attack 5 minutes to attack. That is why. It took 3.5 years training those people. You know, getting everything lined up. And the president gave the okay that you have the air support. And it was up there. And then the last 5 minutes prior to that, to the attack, he pulls them out. And everybody gets caught down there. Now you understand why he has no respect for the Kennedys.
Did he ever tell you anything else about Dallas?
No, I didn't ask no more. That's, the more you ask, the less chance you got of living.
And when you say they, so who killed David?
They'll have to draw you a picture. The same people he worked for.
The CIA?
Yeah, because he was going to go before the Senate, you know. They summoned him, you know, to go before the Senate. But before you could get there, they knocked him off, man, you know.
This testimony alone should prove the CIA guilty for murdering several witnesses throughout history for knowing too much and getting too close to the truth.
But he knew too much. Yeah, he was the number one man in the CIA. He only had two bosses, the president and the head of the CIA.
And didn't he have plans to teach?
Yeah, he wanted to go teach at Flagstaff, political science.
We let a potential teacher of political science do this? How dumb are we?
Yeah, that's the figure that I had previously identified as Morales to a very high degree. His nose was a little more flattened, but the stance, the shoulders, the face, the tie askew, the general facial impression is an individual that I would identify as Morales to a practically 100% degree.
Take notice as Morales curiously walks into the room, looking around as if he's looking for something. Keep in mind, this is quite some time after the shooting, and the unwanted public would have been cleared from the area long ago.
I also showed these clips to Wayne Smith, who worked with Morales at the US Embassy in Havana in 1959.
Monitors the ballroom moments before
That's
the
him.
shooting.
That's Dave Morales.
Really?
Yeah, I'm virtually certain. Is there anything?
No, we see him again. We see him
go
again.
ahead.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
do
and
it.
you'll see him
Yeah.
repeated.
Yeah,
Body language is very, very much characteristic.
yeah. I mean, he turns that way. That's Morales. That's Morales. Yeah, I knew Morales quite well. He worked in the CIA station in Havana when I was third secretary of the political section. 59 until we broke relations in 61. And saw him again a number of times. And I saw him in Argentina. We got into an argument about Kennedy, Bay of Pigs, and all that. And what he said was that Kennedy got what was coming to him.
Minutes later, he's seen lurking in shadow outside the pantry doorway, and popping his head around the doorway 2 minutes later to listen to Valerie Schulte, the official girl in the polka dot dress. Again, Ayers and Smith identified this man as David Morales.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's I could certainly verify 90% ID of Gordon Campbell. Less a little hair, as I remembered him. The facial features are certainly his. Absolutely. And, I'm looking beyond the face. I'm looking at the body, the carriage, Take a look at that again. It's a wonderful setting for an assassination because the obvious thing that's going to happen is this total and complete chaos, and you can get lost in the crowd. Obviously, the two of them are together.